Today we're going to solve a Georgia Milestones practice question on adding fractions with unlike denominators. We're also going to reduce fractions to lowest terms. First, let's read the problem and collect important information to find out what the problem is asking us to find or to solve. Karen is making 3 different cakes for Christmas gifts for the office. One recipe needs 5/6 cups of milk. One recipe needs 2/3 cups of milk, and one recipe needs 3/4 cups of milk. How much milk did she need to make all 3 recipes? Use pictures, numbers, or words to explain your thinking. We know in our passage that 3 recipes are being made and all need milk. So I'm going to go ahead and draw a picture of 3 things so that I don't forget my important information. And I know that since we're looking at the milk, that she's going to use 5/6 of a cup in one recipe, 2/3 of a cup in one recipe, and 3/4 of a cup in another recipe. That way I won't forget to add all 3. Next, the problem is asking Karen to find out how much she will need for all 3 recipes. If I'm putting all the milk items together, then I know that I will use the function of addition to solve for the total amount. Therefore, I write an equation that looks like this: 5/6 plus 2/3 plus 3/4 equals I don't know. I use A as the unknown because I know I can use letters or symbols to represent the amount that I'm trying to solve for. Next, what I see is this. In order to add these fractions together, I notice that they have unlike denominators. And in order to add fractions with unlike denominators, I know that I have to make the denominators equivalent before I can add them, because the rule for adding fractions states that all denominators must be the same. In order to do this, I have to find the least common multiple, or LCM, of each fraction. In order to do that, I look to the denominators 6, 3, and 4 and see what would be the least common multiple of all 3 numbers. So let's do that. I have 6, 3, and 4. When I find the common multiples, I notice that that means to multiply or to skip count. So that would be 6, 12, 18, 24. And I don't want to go too far because it could be that only a smaller number is needed, and I don't want to spend a lot of time running this out. If I need to come back, I can always add more. Now let's look at 3. Let's do the multiples of 3. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, and 18. And I'm going to stop there because I notice that I've got a 12 and a 12. So maybe I won't have to go too far with 4. Again, I want to find the multiples of 4, and I can do that by multiplying or skip counting. So I can say 4, 8, and 12. And sure enough, 12 becomes my LCM, or least common multiple. In order to add all of my denominators together, I must make these into equivalent fractions now that I'm going to convert them into twelfths. So what I'm going to do first is to take my 5/6, and I'm going to scoot this up just a little bit. I'm just going to move this up here. And I'm going to take my 5/6, and remember, I'm going to convert that fraction into twelfths. And the way I do that is I remember that in the 6's, I had to multiply it by something to get 12. So I look over here and say 1, 2. I multiplied by 2. And I know that in order to make an equivalent fraction, whatever I do to the denominator, I must do the same to the numerator. So I have to multiply my numerator by 2. So 5 times 2 is 10. And 10 becomes the new, 10/12 becomes the new fraction that is equivalent to 5/6. So I'm going to write that down here so I don't forget what I'm doing. Because now these two have become equivalent fractions. And I'm just rewriting my equation with the equivalent fractions. Next, I had 2/3. And again, I'm going to make an equivalent fraction that's equal to something over 12 because I'm going to add them with the least common multiples. And in order to convert that to 12ths, I had to look over here and multiply 3 times 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So 3 times 4 is 12, and I know in order to make equivalent fractions, whatever I do to the denominator, I must do the same to the numerator. So 4 times 2 is 8. Now 2/3 and 8/12 are equivalent fractions. And I'm just going to slide this right over here and replace it for 2/3. And I'm going to do the same thing for 3/4. Something over 12. And the 4 I multiplied times 3. 1, 2, 3. So 4 times 3 is 12. And 3 times 3 is 9, because whatever I do to the bottom, I must do to the top. Whatever I do to the denominator, I must do to the numerator in order to get an equivalent fraction. So now I've got an equivalent fraction for 3/4. 3/4 is equivalent to 9/12, and I'm going to slip it right down here in my new equation, 9/12. So now I've got equivalent fractions that I can add together because they have like denominators. So now I'm going to just add straight across my numerators and see what I come up with. So 10 plus 8 is 18, and 18 plus 9 is 27. So my answer is 27/12. But I notice that 27/12 is an improper fraction. An improper fraction means that the numerator is greater than the denominator, and that means that there are whole pieces that are greater out of here too, that I can pull some wholes out of here. So I'm going to take 12, and I'm going to scoot this up a little bit more. And I'm going to divide my denominator into my numerator to see if I can change that into a mixed number. So 12 will go into 27, and also 2 will go into 27. So I know 2 times 12 is 24. And when I subtract that, that leaves me 3. I know in order to make a mixed number out of this, I'm going to take my 2 wholes and put it right here, my 2 whole units. And then I'm going to take the 2 and I'm going to take the 3 and make that my numerator. And the 12 becomes my denominator. And I come up with a new fraction of 2 3/12. But I know I'm not finished yet, because what I see is that 3/12 are multiples of each other. 3 is a multiple of 12. And I can reduce that fraction down even further. So I'm going to look at the least common factor for that fraction, or the LCF. Oops, misspelled. There we go. So I'm going to take my 3 and do a factor rainbow. and I'm going to say 1 and 3 make 3. And then I'm going to factor out 12 and see what factors make up 12. And I know I have 1 and 12, 2 and 6, and 3 and 4. The factors that are the same are 3 and 3. So I know that 3 twelfths can be divided by 3. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to do the same to the bottom as I do to the top and divide by 3 to make an equivalent fraction. So 3 divided by 3 is 1, and 12 divided by 3 is 4. And I'm not going to do anything to the 2 because it's already a whole and it doesn't need to be reduced. Just the fraction. So my answer ends up to be 2 and 1/4. So I'm going to write a statement down here that Karen will need 2 and 1/4 cups of milk for all 3 recipes. I hope this helps you with adding fractions with unlike denominators and for reducing fractions to lowest common terms. We've talked about improper fractions, mixed numbers, least common factors, and also for writing a statement on answering the problem. I hope this helps. Thank you so much. If you want to replay, feel free to do that and you can watch it again.